Peace and blessings, everybody. I'm Lale Tunser. This is Lee Wiseman, and we're here from Universal God Message of Peace. Today, we're going to be talking about rules, and the topic of this discussion is what's God got to do with rules? So, Rabbi Wiseman, over to you.
Okay. Well, first of all, I have to full disclosure. I am a person who hates rules. Okay? I'm just going to tell you that right off the bat so that everybody should know that temperamentally, I am not a rule follower. Okay? Temperamentally, I am a rule breaker. Okay, now, not everybody is. There's some people who really like rules. There's some people who love rules. There's some people who like extra rules. Me, I like traffic rules because they make sense. Okay, I like traffic rules. Okay, they make reasonable sense. No problem. I understand. I come to a four-way stop, right? I know that I have to stop because a car could be coming from the other direction and I don't want to smash into somebody. That all makes sense to me. I'm okay with that. But rules which are arbitrary, okay, I have a lot of problem with those rules. So when it comes to religion, this is a very, very big question for me as to what do all these rules have to do with God? And certainly in the Abrahamic traditions, and I'm going to include Christianity here because while Christianity doesn't have formal law, they do have an awful lot of ritual custom, especially in the Catholic tradition and in the Orthodox tradition of Christianity. There's lots and lots of fasts and lots of observances and lots of rules. Okay, and especially if you're a religious or a monk or a priest or a nun, then there are tons of rules. And certainly for Muslims and Jews, these are both religions that have a system of law and lots and lots of rules. So I've had to think a lot about what these rules are. So I'm going to start off by saying that for me, the best way to think about rules is not to think about them as rules. So for example, let's suppose I'm madly in love, and my beloved loves lilies, okay? And my beloved says to me, I really love lilies. Could you please bring me lilies every Friday? Every Friday, please bring me lilies. Now, I could look at that and I could say, okay, I now have a rule. I have to bring lilies every Friday, right? And I write it down on my list. Lilies on Friday, right? That's the one way I could think about it, right? Then it becomes a rule. Or I could think about it, wow, I get to bring lilies on Friday. What an amazing thing. My beloved wants lilies on Friday for me. I can't wait. I'm going to go and I'm going to find the best lilies. I'm going to go searching all over to find the florist with the most beautiful lilies. I'm going to buy those ones, right? And I'm going to spare no expense. I'm going to bring them and go, here's your lilies, right? They're two completely different things. I could make it into a rule, right? I can make it into a rule. I can make it into something that I just have to do. And so I think the same things with the service of God. I mean, these are things that our Creator asks of us. Now, why did the Creator ask them of us? So I think that mostly the Creator asked them of us because there are ways of us of helping us develop our character and our receptiveness to his presence and influence, right? So when we, take for example, controlling what you eat, for example, controlling what you eat. What that does is it helps teach you a kind of balance. You know, do you want to be the kind of person in the world who's just grabbing at everything they could possibly eat and eating, grabbing an animal and biting off its leg, you know, grabbing an animal, biting off its leg, just grabbing everything you can possibly find to eat it? Or do you want to be careful, right? Do you want to be careful? Do you want to say Bismillah, to say a bracha before you eat in order to have some consciousness? So it builds those things which are rules are really ways of kind of building a consciousness. And it's God's way of saying, I want you to become a better person. I want you to develop and I want you to grow. I want to help form your character so that you become so that you could become more aware of me, right? But again, not as rules for rules' sake, not just to say, okay, here's the rules, you do what I say, right? Here's the rules, you do what I say, and then because then nobody wants a slogging servant, right? Imagine you're a king, right? And this guy walks in, right? The guy walks in, he goes, "Here, king, here's your water," right? And nobody wants a servant like that, right? And if we think we're just doing the rule, okay, it's 8 o'clock, time for your water, right? That's not that's not something that's something that's pleasing to the creator, right? So that's my first, I guess my first salvo as I throw over is that maybe we shouldn't be thinking of the rules as rules, but thinking of them as acts of love. That's one way of looking at it, or also as ways of changing us and transforming us and making us into better folks.
That's very, very good point and very beautifully portrayed with those examples. So what you're saying is that God wants us to follow these rules out of love rather than out of fear. And is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah, I never try to discount fear, because fear is a power. I mean, there are two kinds of fear. There are two kinds of fear. So what we usually call fear is this kind of fear. I'm afraid of dogs barking, right? That kind of fear. Okay. So that kind of fear actually has a benefit, because sometimes if you don't want to, if you want to do something and you're afraid of the consequences, it'll prevent you from doing something bad. So fear of consequences has its place, and I wouldn't say that. So there's a benefit to fear of consequences, and then there's the other kind of fear, which I would translate more like awe, right? And that awe is somewhere between fear and love, right? It's
Yeah.
it's not quite fear as we normally mean it, and it's not quite love as we normally mean it. It's somewhere in between there. Um, and so I think that you can. I think that ideally, I guess it's not it's love and fear versus just a sense of obligation, right? I feel like things which we do just out of a sense of obligation it's an inferior level of service, right? And when you go to you go to the restaurant, right? And when the waiter is just doing his job, right? And then there's the waiter who comes, and goes, let me tell you today's specials, right? And it's a whole performance, right? And and this is with a beautiful balsamic vinaigrette, and they give you this whole thing, and you think of it, this person is having fun. This person loves their job, right? And so that's a difference, right? Rather than the person just going through, today's special. Today we have the fried flounder. I had some for lunch. It was pretty good. Like it's
I agree. It's like transforming work for the body to work for the soul. Like if we can it's transforming work, really, isn't it, into service. If we can do something with love and joy and with the intention to serve our Creator because we love our Creator and we love our fellow human being, to serve them out of fear is like, it's still an act of service, isn't it? But it's just not as fun as you say. It's like, it's more, why would you, why, obviously it puts people off, I think, because nobody wants to be forced to do something that they don't want to do. And actually, our Creator doesn't want to force us to do something that we don't want to do either. And I guess we have free will, and we can always choose to willingly sort of serve or unwillingly serve. But either way, we are serving anyway, I think. And it's just one's willingly and one's unwillingly, if that makes sense.
Well, the crazy thing is we're given free will, right? So obviously God seems to really like free will, right? It's like the whole world is built to make sure that we have free will, right? We have good and bad. Even in our inner nature, we clearly have good inclinations and we have not so good inclinations. So we're built, right? We're built for free choice. And then God comes along and says, okay, here I have these rules. Well, wait a second now. You just gave me all this freedom, right? You gave me all this freedom, and now you're telling me, right? Now you're telling me, okay,
well, there has to be rules. If there's free will, what comes with that is you get rules with it, because the reason, I guess, my understanding is that with free will comes the huge potential to do good by willingly serving, by willingly worshipping, or the huge potential to do evil by, causing harm and corruption and oppression and bloodshed and that type of thing. So if we've got a free choice between this and this, then there has to be opposites. And so, and obviously there has to be rules, because, well, the rules are a blessing really to guide us to choosing, hopefully, to doing what's good.
right.
That's and it's a guidance. So maybe we can just see it as a blessing rather than, and it creates vessels, really, doesn't it? It creates a vessel for us to be able to serve, like building a house in order to live in it, or building a temple in order to worship, or creating a vessel of anything, really. Even words are like vessels, aren't they? Because we can't put love in a box. We can't put God in a word, really, obviously, because nothing is comparable unto him. But by having free will, we have the ability to choose to speak and to create these vessels, and at least to bring that light down into this physical world, if that makes sense. It's my understanding.
There's a beautiful line in the Jewish mystical book, the Zohar, that says that a person who says that the word mitzvah, which means a commandment, comes from tzav, which means to command, right? That anyone who says that a commandment is just a commandment has made a mistake. He says instead you should know it comes from the word tzavta. So tzavta means a connection. It's like the word, if you have a pair of scissors where they come together, right? That's tzavta. So it means a connection, and that is something which connects you to God, right? It's a form of connection. So each time we do one of these things, right? Each time we observe one of the commandments, this is a way of connecting to, just like for example, the example of the flowers, right? When I'm giving the flowers, it's a chance to connect, right? Now, if I'm doing it in such a way where I'm not really showing up, right? I'm doing my duty, right? It's Friday. I have to bring my flowers here, right? Then we always have this feeling when something like that happens, we know something's missing, right? When you go to the restaurant and the waiter is, is bored with their job, that part of them is gone somewhere, right? But when the person is completely present. So what Hashem wants, what God wants from us is for us to be obedient, right? But to be obedient in that way that's loving and saying, this is what I get to do to you, and how wonderful that I get to connect to you.
I am here for your service. What can I do for you? Yes.
Right. And it's I am in the supermarket,
Yes, I'm here everywhere. Whatever I'm doing, I'm here. How can I do it in a way that pleases you? How can I speak in a way that pleases you? How can I think in a way that pleases you? How can I desire what you desire and worship you with my deepest desires? And I think if we can all connect to our Creator like that, then there would be peace, world peace. And obviously in our behaviors and everything. But yeah, I think it's a blessing, really. These rules are a blessing. Like, they offer us guidance, because humanity so easily forgets, so easily goes astray. Obviously, we all have this innate nature within us of what is good, and how to. I think that's what God has put into us. But it's so easy to forget. It's so easy to be distracted. It's so easy to be deluded by the world's distractions. And these rules that we find in religion, I think, help to bring us back to the true reality of what it's all about. And like you say, the commandments, given in the Torah for the Jewish people are such a blessing and a mercy from our Creator to connect to Him directly by doing these commandments. Whether it's out of fear or love, hopefully the fear will bring the love later. So I would suggest just keep doing it, because there is love in there. It's just we don't always feel it. But the more we do these commandments, hopefully the softer our hearts will get, and gradually we'll start to feel the love, which is the ultimate, blessing, really. It's a blessing to feel that love for our Creator and to feel that love for each other. It is in there. I think definitely it's in there in all of us. We just have to remember and return to it, really, God willing.
I used to shop in a Persian supermarket. And on Friday afternoons, there were a lot of old Persian ladies that would come to the supermarket, and they were pretty aggressive. They were not kidding. They were tough. And this old lady slammed into my cart. Okay, so I had my cart, and she slammed into my cart. And of course, my first reaction was to get angry, right? Hey, what are you doing inside my car? And then I look and I think to myself, I think to myself, oh, wait a second. So she was an older person. I have to show respect. I was a younger person, and I didn't have a white beard then, so I couldn't get away. So she's an older person. I have to show respect. I have to show respect. That's a commandment. That's a rule. I have to show respect. And so I said very nicely, excuse me, ma'am. Excuse me, ma'am. She smiled at me. She smiled at me and she gave me a little blessing, and she grabbed touched my beard and kissed it. And apparently she was a Jewish lady. She was like a Rebbe. She kissed my beard.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
And I thought to myself, you know, part of me didn't want to do the right thing. It
Mhm.
would have felt very good just to go, hey, part of me wanted to do that. And part of me felt limited because you're holding me back from doing what I really want to do. But many times these things which hold us back from what we really want to do uh, show us a kind of higher level of being, you know, show us that
I think
like,
actually I think I think it's what your higher level of being is what you really want to do beneath
right,
what you think you want to do. So you think you might want to get angry, but actually inside of that feeling, what you really want to do beneath that is what you did.
right. And there was much more pleasure in that. There was
Exactly.
much more pleasure in that. In the end, it was much nicer.
And
Just
it
like
brought
it's much
out the
nicer.
love in her as well. It brought out what you did, it removed that external peel from her heart and revealed the love within her heart towards you. So it was very beautiful act of, and the Quran encourages this as well, that, we should repay evil with good, really, because it's a hard thing to do. It feels like a difficult thing to do, but that's a way of transforming our enemies into allies. For the one who can do that, and may God grant us the ability to do that, is even bless those who hate you, even bless those who curse you. It's a difficult thing to do, but if we pray for people, despite their wrongdoing against us, that will help reveal the love within them that they have forgotten. And it will transform them into our friends. This is a promise from God. So
Yeah, yeah. But
imagine
even
if,
our kind of little appetites, you tell a kid, you say to a kid, don't eat, you put the chocolate cake on the table, right? You put the cake on the table and you say, don't eat the whole thing. Yeah, and the kid feels like you're limiting my pleasure, you're making, you're taking something away from me. But that's exactly the opposite, because if they take one piece of cake, they're really going to enjoy it, right? They're going to taste it, it's going to be wonderful, they're going to really enjoy it. If they eat the entire cake, they're going to be sick, right? They're going to be sick. And a lot of things in life are like that, you know?
and there are things as well. I think we have the same battle with so not just our base desires, of, eating and doing whatever brings us a temporary satisfaction. We're fighting against that by trying to do these rules that, we believe that God has given us. And that can be very tough. But also we're battling with something else, which is our mind and
Mhm.
our understanding, because
Mhm.
there are some rules that you might not understand. And I
Yes.
think this is the big question, because obviously, like, um, from an Islamic perspective, it's good to seek truth and to always seek truth, and actually not to really follow something that unless you really have got to the truth of it. So, to always seek the truth in everything that you hear as well, not to believe everything that you hear blindly. So blind faith is not encouraged. Um, However, then you have that issue of, you know, um, well, here's a rule that I have, but it's not yet in my heart because I haven't yet acknowledged the truth of it. I might follow it because my parents follow it and I've been told it's the truth. But how do I actually know it's a rule that God really wants me to follow? So therefore, what should that person do? And I know from a Jewish perspective, we do, and then we understand. So we obey, whether we understand it or not, we obey it anyway. And the understanding will come later. So we still seek truth, but we do the commandment, even if you don't understand it. But the problem is that we're not going to be able to do something with love unless we understand it really, for it to settle in our hearts as a real truth, a faith, that's in our hearts. To be a true believer, you have to have it in your heart, not just in your actions, or in your mind. But to do that, we have to seek the truth to try and understand it. And so I mean, this is an issue, I think, because what do you advise people to do?
Well, this was the great debate of the Middle Ages. So the entire so all the Jewish philosophers, Muslim philosophers, and Christian philosophers of the Middle Ages were obsessed with this question, right? Because so one of the questions is should you even try to understand, right? Should you even try to understand? Because maybe if you're imagine, okay, for a second, okay, so imagine for a second that you have these rules which are coming from the infinite will, right? Mm-hmm. So how can we presume to understand anything that comes from the infinite will, being finite people, right? We're these finite little beings. How could I possibly understand?
And how is a man supposed to understand why a woman wants a particular type of flower? I mean,
right, exactly, right. So, right. So maybe it's not my business, right? It's not. So one way is say it's not my business. I can't possibly understand. So I should just say, okay, this is, I don't understand, and I'm just going to do. On the other hand, as you said, right, if I understand, like if she tells me, okay, we'll keep going with this. If she tells me, you know what, when I was a little girl, when I was a little girl, outside of our house, my grandmother grew white lilies, and ever since then, my heart has been, moved when I see white lilies. Okay, then I have a reason, right? And it's like, oh wow, like I'm just like connecting to her childhood. I'm gonna make her so happy, and so that's a really good thing, and I can do it with much more enthusiasm, and it brings a dimension of meaning to it. And the same thing, obviously, with the commandments. So the argument came. So what do we do? So like practically, what do we do? So Maimonides, one of the great Jewish philosophers, put it this way. He said, "Look, I can't be sure that I understand everything, but I'm going to use my intellect. Okay, I'm going to use my intellect to the best way possible to try to understand, realizing that there are limitations, realizing that I understand God is infinite, I'm finite. Maybe I understand right, maybe I don't understand right, but I do know that if I have some understanding, even if it's wrong, right? If it's wrong, I'm going to be able to bring more of myself to the action."
Mm-hmm.
And there's a benefit to that, even if I'm not exactly right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's all about the relationship, isn't it? Like you finding out that the story behind, or the reason underlying, the secret underlying the reason for her commanding you to, or asking you to do something. You're more likely you're going to have a more intimate relationship and desire to do that. But you're not going to find out why she's asking you to get you lilies, get her lilies, unless you ask her and you actually want to find out. So I think we can apply that to our Creator. We have a relationship with our Creator, and we have a relationship with other people.
Mm-hmm.
And all of creation. But unless we actually want to be there, we actually want to learn those secrets, then for those who seek, they shall find. If we seek the wisdom, if we seek the knowledge, if we seek the secrets, then they will be disclosed to us, but we have to really want to do it. She's not gonna want to just come out and tell you the story.
Right. You have to ask.
You have to ask. You have
Yeah.
to ask and ask the right questions, and you know, and yeah, so that's it. And when we take a step towards our creator, he takes steps towards us, and it's about the relationship, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
inquiry is really, it being able to ask. And one thing that's wonderful is that there's a wonderful, there's a wonderful literature, a whole beautiful literature that's built around asking these kinds of questions and, kind of looking at um look at the inner meaning of the things that we do. And the more you engage with that and the more you kind of spend some time with that, um, how much more fulfilling it is. I've really spent the last couple of years, I kind of devoted myself a lot to that kind of dimension of things, to get a better idea of why I'm doing what I'm doing. Instead of asking the how and what questions, to ask the why question. And I feel like it's really been revolutionary.
Oh,
And just my own experience has been revolutionary.
same here. I think we all have the potential to really feel the intimate connection with our creator if we just want to. And nobody is far away from it. He's closer to us than we are to ourselves. Every single one of
Yeah.
us, it's somewhere very close to us, and we just have to want to do it. And we don't need to put anybody, anything between ourselves and our creator, because there is no other reality really. And
And you can understand those rules as the creator going,
yeah.
come close to me.
Yeah,
Come.
and I think these rules and these secrets under those rules are revealed to everybody in their own way, with their own intimate, unique connection with their creator in ways that are beyond words. And everybody, everybody might have a different understanding, but that's okay. At that level, at that time and place, that's where they're supposed to be. And that's okay, as long as they seek to have an understanding, higher understanding. Higher, when I say higher, I mean higher than their own understanding. There's always a higher understanding. So I think when we get to a point where we think, right, that's it, I know, this is the reason, this is the truth, then you remain static. We should always be seeking higher truth, higher revelation, higher understanding. And our creator is, we can't fully know him in the way that he knows us. And we have to always remember that he's higher than us, and his understanding is higher than our understanding. And I think once you get to that truth, when we recognize that that is a truth, and that truth goes into our hearts, then at that point we can accept these rules without having to understand them. But in order to get to that point where we recognize that there is a higher understanding than our own, until that point, I think it's reasonable that we ask questions and we don't just blindly follow. But once you get to the point where you surrender, you submit your will to a higher will, and you say, right, that's it. It's a bit like, I go for walks with my dog, and I see flowers, and I love flowers. And I look at the flowers and I just get lost in these flowers, and I look at the bees and they come and they're like, all the details of what they're doing and their little legs and their wings. And it's so beautiful. And you just lose yourself in it. And you just think, glory be to you, my creator, our creator, who created all of this. I completely surrender to you. And it's a bit like, when you read the Quran, for example, some people say, well, if there's doubt about something being a revelation, so that flower incident is a revelation.
Mhm.
But if we apply that to the books, or to, the Torah,
Mhm.
or the Quran, and you're reading a book and people around you are saying, this is from God, so you have to just follow everything that's in it. Initially, you might be like, well, how do I know it's from God? Maybe it's not, maybe it's just a story, maybe it's just this or that, and your mind is, asking all these questions. But let's say you read it anyway, and you establish prayer, and you're seeking truth, and you're seeking wisdom, and you're asking your Creator to guide you, to open your eyes, ears, heart to higher truth. Even if you're not sure that your Creator is real, you say, well, God, if you can hear me, if you're real, and if if there is a Creator and you can hear me, then please guide me to see this. We have to ask these questions to draw closer and seek wisdom. The more you read the Quran, for example, like someone might have doubt that this is a revelation from God. I'm lots of people have doubts about everything, and I'm just telling my stories. I'm not sure if actually I don't think I have ever had a doubt, but maybe that's not a good thing. For some reason, I've never doubted it. Actually, I haven't, but I know that people do. And I'm saying it's okay. It's okay to doubt it. It's okay. It's okay to doubt everything. It's natural. It's part of human nature to doubt. As long as we're seeking the truth. And it gets to a point where when you realize that something is the truth, then it goes into your heart. And that's the point where we say, okay, from now on, like whatever you say, I accept it as truth. Is there a point that we should get to that? I mean, I think there is, but
I think there is, but I think that for a lot of people, that can be a long way off.
well, definitely,
And
it says in the Quran as well. It says the difference. There's people who, like my understanding is a Muslim is somebody who surrenders. So that's that initial, the declaration of faith that you surrender. But a true believer is when the message comes into your heart. But that can take a long, long time. And we shouldn't judge people because everybody's on their own journey. And actually, during that process, they will be asking questions, they will be having doubts, they will be questioning. And that is a normal thing to do. But then once the message, I'm talking about an Islamic thing, like with the Quran and going into the heart of people. Once it's in there, the people who have accepted its message, they don't doubt anymore. And everything that is in there, even if they don't understand it yet, or they might never understand it, because it says in the Quran, there are verses in this book that you understand, that are clear, and there is verses that nobody knows their meaning except God. So actually, there are places that we won't understand and we can't understand because it's beyond our understanding. But you accept it anyway, even if it's beyond your understanding. So I'm just saying that I think from my understanding from the Quran is that there's different levels of faith, and
yeah, there's an interesting little piece of etymology. The word for faith, right, in Arabic is iman, right? Iman. And iman it's related to Hebrew emunah, which means faith. And in Hebrew, emunah is related to the word uman. So uman means umanut means workmanship, right? Because faith is not something that happens. It's something that you work on, right? Something that you build. It's something that you grow and you develop. Some of us have kind of a natural obedience, I think. We have a natural obedience, we have kind of a natural sense of, but faith is something that we can always kind of like cultivate. It's if you don't have it, right? If you don't have it, something you build it. And part of the building is by asking the questions and by trying to understand what it is you're doing and why you're doing it. And through that process, expanding your presence, expanding your presence and your ability to be there for God and for God to be there for you,
Exactly. And I think many of us perhaps don't want to follow a rule because we don't understand it, or we don't feel the love in our hearts. What would you say about that?
I'd say go out and buy the flowers anyway.
It's really good.
Go out, buy the flowers anyway, but
Why?
don't forget to try to figure out what's the secret behind those flowers. I think at the end of the day, when we think, okay, this is something that pleases my creator, I don't know why, I don't know why I'm going to do it. But at least have in mind, I'm happy to be pleasing my creator, even though I don't necessarily understand why it is. But then to strive to understand, and to care, to care, that I want to know, I want to do something which is pleasing and to do it in the most beautiful way. I think that's also very important, an important point, is that when we think about what we do, to try to do it in the most beautiful way possible, in terms of our intention, in terms of doing it even materially in the most beautiful way possible, because that brings that shows our sincerity, right? You go to somebody's house, right? Somebody's house, and they plunk the donut, the donut wrapped in the plastic on the table and say, here, have a donut. It's different than when you come to their house and they lay out the cookies and the lokum and everything else, and they put it out on the plate, right? And they put it in front of you and they serve you a cup of tea, right? It means it's something completely different, even though it may be the same food, right? It's the same food.
It's like buying lilies that are dying.
Right, right. Do you have yesterday's lilies? Yeah. I'll take the most wilted ones you have, because could I get a deal on those cheaper?
It's
Yeah.
about sacrifice. It's all about sacrifice, isn't it? Because yes, there, of course, if we've got free will, then there has to be rules, because it's a test of our love, it's just a test of our faith. And it's a test of whether we're willing to sacrifice what we think we want to do, or how we want to spend our time for, the temporary pleasures of this world, whether we're willing to sacrifice our understanding and our ego for our creator who we love. So all about sacrifice, and without sacrifice, we cannot have a relationship. This goes with all of our relationships, why there's so many divorces happening in the world, why there's so many relationship breakdowns. Life is hard. Men and women are very different in the way they think. They don't understand each other, and they probably never will. Like, really understand.
Now you tell me.
It's like facing the unknown side of yourself, which you don't know, and that you didn't know, and it's like you don't understand it. But if we want to have a relationship, then we have to sacrifice what we know in order to get closer to the unknown. And I think that's like our relationship with our creator.
That's why, sometimes the things we don't understand can be the highest things, because you could say, I don't know why she likes lilies. I have no idea. But you know what? I'm gonna bring them anyway. I have no idea. I like roses better, and roses are clearly a much nicer flower, and lilies, they use them in
Yes,
funerals. Why would you like a funeral flower, right? But no, say, what, that's what you want, and that's what you bring.
exactly. I think that is the reason why a lot of our relationships break down, is because we assume that the other person wants to be loved in the way that we want to be loved.
Right.
And we assume things about the other based on our own understanding. It's like, yeah, I guess that's like creating God in our
Right.
image, maybe.
Creator is infinite. So if I can't understand another human being, how much more can I understand the creator? You know?
Yeah. So just because you like roses, it doesn't mean that someone else has to like roses. They might prefer lilies.
Right.
And actually we
And
should lilies if they say to us they want lilies, then but in order to understand, we have to speak to each other. So let's speak to one another more. Let's listen
oh
to,
man.
let's talk to our creator and seek to understand. And yes, try and treat each other with the same respect, kindness, love, gratitude, patience, forgiveness, and all those.
And the most important thing is don't forget to subscribe.
Yes, if
Don't
you
forget to
like this
subscribe.
video, please subscribe and share, because then it reaches more people.
Yeah.
So
Subscribe, share, and write nice comments. Not bad comments, only nice comments.
but if you have any questions, do ask, although I'm not that great at answering on the
I am great at answering, so don't worry, I'll answer.
Okay, there we go. Please ask questions if you have any. God bless you all. Thank you for watching, and peace be with you. And Eid Mubarak for everybody who's
Bye-bye.
celebrating Eid today. God bless you all. Peace be with you. Thank you.